Welcome to In a Heartbeat. I'm Liz Aiken. You know, the show comes to you from the studios of the Grosse Pointe War Memorial in Grosse Pointe Farms, Michigan. You're watching WMTV. Recently, we had a phenomenal person in the Grosse Pointe area talking about environmental oncology. I'm lucky enough that I was able to snag a few minutes with her to talk to us, really one-on-one, about what's going on in our area, what you need to know to create the healthiest environment possible. So my guest today, and I'm extremely pleased that she's here, is Dr. Maryann Donovan. She is from the Center for Environmental Oncology, and this is out of Pittsburgh, and I'm going to have her tell you exactly what, exactly where, and why she's doing that. So,
hi.
Dr. Donovan.
I'm really excited to be here.
This is so fun, and literally, it was hard to almost get in here to tape.
It was. We were like having too much fun out there talking.
Way too much fun. Okay, so you are PhD and MPH, which is Masters of Public Health.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have to say right off the bat, that is the perfect connection, because everything that you learn, everything that you're going to be talking about is because you have done your homework already on the public health issues, and aren't we up to our necks and stuff?
We have a lot of stuff. And I think what I bring to the table is, you're right, I have a degree, I'm a molecular geneticist, so I understand how cells work. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to really be able to have someone speaking to the evidence and telling people what we do know, so that the consumer can make different choices if they want to, and understand what their risks are and what are some of the risks they can avoid.
And that's part of the value even of today is not just, we're not going to just give you a lot of things that are like, holy cow, what are we going to do? We're going to also, with Dr. Donovan's help, give you some specific tips. Be smart, be educated, be proactive, you know what, be healthier. Mm-hmm. So why this field in the first place? What pulled you to that?
Well, you know, I actually had my master's in public health first before I went and had my PhD, and I was really interested in environmental science, but I wasn't quite sure, that was 1980s, and I wasn't quite sure what to do with that degree, so I thought I needed more, so that's why I went back and got a basic science degree. And I kind of went off in that direction. I was studying a lot of the genetic basis of disease, and I hadn't really gone down that path towards studying the environment. And when I actually went and spoke with Dr. Deborah Davis, who was interested in starting a Center for Environmental Oncology at the University of Pittsburgh Cancer Institute, and she and I just really hit it off. So I was the scientific director, she was the director, and we just built the center since 2004. It was really exciting for me to be able to do that.
And really, too, even as you say that you were busy studying, you couldn't help, unless you had no ears, no mind, no eyes, you couldn't help but notice all the changes that were coming about. Things that we had done in this country and around the world for all of these years, suddenly we were starting to find out.
Well, that's right. So what I did was harass my family. I would see things, I'd say, Teflon pans, get rid of those pans. Yeah, you know, I mean, the birds die because of the fumes, and so I don't think those are good for and that really has only, it came up again a few years ago. People were still cooking with Teflon pans, and I was really happy to hear from my mother and my mother-in-law, who said, Maryann, you told us that 25 years ago to get rid of those pans. And I was like, yes.
Yes, I did
so,
it right.
Yeah, and they
Very
did.
Cool. All right, so the deal is now healthy homes, healthy families.
Yes.
Tell me about this.
Well, I think we need to start in the home, because we were talking earlier, I think we need to think about who's being exposed and who's really vulnerable. And I think children are very vulnerable, as well as pregnant women, because they obviously, they have babies that are growing in them. So why don't we look there first? And are there exposures in the home? And there are. And can you do something about it? And I wanted to mention, at the Center for Environmental Oncology, over the last couple of months, I decided that we were going to start a You Can campaign, because a lot of this information is scary and it frightens people and they don't know what to do about it. And I want everyone to know that there are things you can do about it. That's why it's You Can. So whatever issues we talk about, I try to give people some suggestions for how they can approach their lives, their families, their homes in a different way and reduce those exposures.
You know, actually, when I was doing this show, and this is small again, but I held this up on the show with Robin Heller, and the Locomotion Green with Melissa Cooper, because these are things literally when you go right to the site, there are all of these are great
newsletters.
Articles. Yeah, and you can even click on it and watch the piece or read it. I like reading because I like to have the print there. But when you talk about the exposures, it almost even breaks it down for what specific to what kind of person. And there was even one for nurses.
Right.
And it's frightening.
And what you'd notice, I think, if you read these articles, is that we do have references. So what we want you to know is we're going to the literature, we're reading the literature, we understand what we know, what we're not so sure about. And so we base our articles based on evidence so that people can make better choices.
All right. And then also when you're talking about the babies and the pregnant women, because those really are the cells that are developing in so many ways. And when we're older, a lot of things slow down. So even the impact from a lot of these things are not going to be as profound as on these newly developing cells.
Certainly not in a general way. So when you think about children, they're not little adults. They breathe faster. They crawl around on the floor, so they're exposed to a lot of these toxins that are in dust. They have a larger body surface area, so they're absorbing more things through their skin. And so we have to be really concerned about them. Their systems are developing. You know, the brain and the nervous system in children develop into your 20s.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
You know, in adults, you have some of your organs that are proliferating, like blood, for example. Your hematopoietic system is very sensitive to toxins because stem cells are growing and repopulating, and so a cell that's dividing is more sensitive. Your intestines, those cells, they also divide and grow, and that's why colon cancer can be an issue.
Right.
So certain organs in adults are sensitive, but I think in general there are many more tissues in a child, and of course in a pregnant woman who has a developing baby, all of those cells are at risk.
Gives you pause, doesn't it?
It sure does. But you know, the good news is that we can reduce our exposures because some of the things you don't have to be using. And I think when you see advertising, you think you need certain things. When you understand that those things may not be healthy for you, you maybe would rethink that. And I really believe we need to reimagine how we live our lives. So for example, let's talk about endocrine disruptors and some of the things. Where are these? Phthalates, for example, are in fragrances. So if you're spraying perfume all over your body and you're pregnant, or even as an adult, that's probably not so great for you. It's very allergenic anyway. But these endocrine disruptors are there. And if you're plugging devices into your wall, to make your house smell in a certain way. Why are we doing that? And those are chemicals, and they're not good for you. No. And they also contain phthalates. And we need to understand consequences more, and we're not aware of the consequences.
We don't really. And you know, I know I have done some different shows talking about that, even with toys. And there are some areas that will actually, if you have a question about toys, you can show, you know, whomever, or go to a site on the web and show them the toys, and they will tell you if that is present, and if it is, again, it's choice. I want to tell you, if you're just tuning in, this is In a Heartbeat. I'm Liz Aiken, and again, I'm extremely pleased to have Dr. Maryann Donovan with me today. We're talking about healthy families, healthy choices, healthy living.
Right.
So go ahead.
Plasticizers are really a big deal. There's a large volume of chemical involved in plasticizers. They leach out of plastic. Those teething rings that are made of vinyl, those squeaky ducks that were in the bathtub were vinyl. I
believe we just had one on the show, the squeaky duck, talking about just that.
So vinyl shower curtains. So again, those are 3 things you don't have to bring into your house. You can have a fabric shower curtain. You don't have to have a vinyl shower curtain, and so make a different choice.
So a lot of it goes back to what would be the more natural substances created naturally, grown naturally, or whatever. And actually, we were talking about that with 100% cotton, as you say, with